Hey there, good people. I'm the Cripple Critic, and today I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy 15, the demo. Just so everyone knows, I am aware there's another demo for Final Fantasy 15 out right now, and I know that it's supposed to be more expansive and probably closely resembling the actual game, but that demo supposedly came with Final Fantasy Type 0, and I don't have it, so this weird fever dream of a demo will have to do. And yes, you heard me right, there are two separate demos with two very different playstyles, with different characters and different worlds, and only one has a story that's related to the actual game. Confused yet? Welcome to Final Fantasy. But before I rail on the hilarity that is this demo, I think I should say that I'm trying to come from a place of love, or I guess I used to be, because I was a big fan of the Final Fantasy series growing up. I mean, hell, Final Fantasy VIII was one of my favorite games of all time as a teenager, or at least it used to be. I mean, I was a really big fan of the imaginative worlds that Final Fantasy had, and I even really liked the turn-based combat. But over the years, the series seems to be getting worse and worse, due partially in part to Square Enix not being really sure what their demographic is, or even making a coherent story in the last few games. The company's mainly just been releasing cittier and cittier Final Fantasy XIII spin-offs, and, releasing cittier and cittier Kingdom Hearts spin-offs. Personally, I have the unpopular opinion that Final Fantasy X was the last good Final Fantasy, and that came out in the early 2000s, so just think about that.
Like I care!
The thing is, a lot's riding on Final Fantasy 15, maybe for the company, but especially for the series itself. The game's been in development for over 10 years, and most people like me either are fed up with the wait or don't care because it took so long. The game has been in development hell for years, with several rewrites, and midway through development, the design team had to shift gears entirely because the original idea for the game wasn't even meant to be a traditional Final Fantasy game at all. Also, with Square Enix's tendency to put more and more of their money into the graphics of their game, they really can't afford to mess this one up. So yeah, I apologize if it seems like my mind is already made up about this game, but the demo just really didn't help. I guess I'll tell you about the controls for the demo, although they're pretty basic. Mostly just the subtitles and language changes. There's camera sensitivity and brightness, but to be fair, the Final Fantasy series has pretty simple gameplay anyway, and I think you'll be okay. There's a little bit of customization with the combat once you actually get to try it, but I'll get to that later. You press X to jump and circle to attack, which is sort of swapped compared to the other games in the series, but whatever I guess. You press square to dodge, and the directional pad is used to pick your weapons and magic. It does look like R3 is lock-on, but the game kind of already has an auto-lock. It locks on to the nearest enemy for you, and I didn't really have much of a problem. And now on to the story. Oh yes, the story. You're a little boy in bed and you're listening to what seems like adults screaming about loyalty, or maybe your just memories are flooding back as you're going to sleep. I don't remember. But the next thing you know, you wake up in a dream. Wake up in a dream? Wait, what? We haven't even established what the world is, who we are, or what we're doing, but hey, I guess we're in a dream world. Off to a great start. You'll probably notice right off the bat that you're not actually playing as Noctis, the main character of Final Fantasy 15. Rather, you play as his younger self, a kid of undeterminate age that looks almost identical to Denzel from Advent Children. No, seriously, that's all I kept thinking about every time I saw him. I was like, what? That kid looks exactly like him. God, that kid was annoying. Square Enix really thought we liked him for some reason. Sorry, Denzel, doesn't look like you'll be getting your own game anytime soon.
Son of a bitch!
Instead, you play as another annoying kid who has even less personality, but he didn't really talk much, so that helps. So yeah, you are in a dream world. This weird bunny creature walks up and hands you an iPhone 6, then starts bossing you around. It really does hand you a smartphone. I think it's like communicating to you throughout the whole game in like text form, or maybe your mind as well. I don't really care. And yep, this furry little turd's going to be with you throughout the whole game, and he just keeps telling you to go in obvious directions and pointing out obvious things and getting really mad when you don't go the right way he wants you to. I guess he sort of acts like a spirit animal for your weird child mind dealing with like trials and tribulations of life, whatever the hell that might be, but that's about as far as it goes when it comes to story. This time around, they tried to go for a more action RPG style for the game, which I already knew about because the director of Final Fantasy 15 also directed the Kingdom Hearts series, which is more of an action RPG. The gameplay in Kingdom Hearts is actually pretty fun, so I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the Kingdom Hearts series has a lot of flaws that I won't go into right now, so yeah.
The demo mostly consists of you exploring the environments and collecting these weird crystal shards, but there is combat in the demo. Eventually these dreamlike creatures show up for you to kill, and they never really do much. They hardly ever harm you enough to kill you. Like I said before, circle is attack, and also if you hold the circle button, you'll continue to attack the same enemy that you were closest to. This is where the customization comes in. You press the touchpad button to open your inventory, which shows you your weapons and even your magic. By opening your menu, it stops time for a moment, even in battle. You can choose which directional button you want for each weapon or magic option you have. This time around, the magic is more hands-on than previous games. Since everything is real-time now, you're able to aim and shoot the magic in the direction of the enemy, a lot like third-person action games when you're throwing a grenade. For me, I had a hard time working the mechanics of the magic, except for at the end of the demo. I really couldn't tell where I was aiming or if I was even hitting anything. Yeah, on a side note, one big thing that really annoyed me about the demo is their odd decision to make everything in the demo really kid-friendly, and I mean everything. Like, the stakes just aren't very high. You're in a dream world filled with cute, adorable animals and harmless enemies, and even your freaking weapons are toys. It's just strange to me because it doesn't seem to resemble the real game at all. It's probably a personal problem of mine, and I'm definitely not ruling out the possibility that the appeal for this kind of style is uniquely Japanese, but that doesn't really sell me on the idea that this is going to do well overseas. That being said, the combat is probably the only thing in the demo that is even the taste of what's going to be in the real game, although probably an oversimplified version of the combat. It looks like they even included weapon types in the demo, which I hope are going to be expanded on in the real game. All I found were hammers and swords. The hammer was more like a two-handed weapon that was slow, and the sword was a lot quicker. Once I found the sword, though, I stuck with it because I really couldn't take the infernal squeak of that really dumb toy hammer. The only other mechanic I noticed were these really weird platforms everywhere that you can apparently use the crystal shards that you collected in order to unlock. You stand on them and different things happen depending on the type of platform you stand on, I guess. Sometimes you'll stand on a platform and the weather will change, or an event will happen, or you'll gain an item. To me, the platforms range from slightly useful to completely pointless. I really couldn't figure out the weather mechanics. Like, they're pretty basic. You can change it to sunny, to cloudy, or rainy weather, but unless in the real game you're some kind of omnipotent being that can control everything, including the weather, I didn't really see how it made sense. But then again, this is a Final Fantasy game, so maybe anything's possible. There's one more mechanic that the platforms do, but it's also the strangest one, and I'll get to that in a second. So there's 4 major dungeons in the demo, mostly linear, but some more expansive than others. The first area is a forest world, which is pretty simple and kinda serves as a tutorial for the demo. Definitely my least favorite dungeon because it pretty much handholds you through the whole thing, and Japanese games are already really tutorial heavy, so I don't know, this one I wasn't feeling it. There wasn't much to do either other than collect the crystal shards and try out the combat mechanics briefly. The second dungeon is the toy room, where you're suddenly the size of an action figure in a giant playroom. This was definitely my favorite dungeon. It was by far the most fun to play. It was more imaginative, a lot bigger, and just really different. In this dungeon, I found a platform that turned me into a car. Yeah, like, it was the most random thing, and I really liked it. Like, it was fun. It was great to just drive around and destroy giant building blocks, but I was really confused by it. I didn't understand how it like made sense within the real game that was coming out, because unless they incorporate it into the summon feature, I don't understand how turning into different creatures and objects makes sense. But it was really fun, and that's what I'm torn about. Like it was great to do, and it was creative. It actually reminded me of the old Banjo Kazooie game where you could use Mumbo Jumbo's magic to turn into whatever you wanted, and that was fun. I'm not sure how it's gonna make sense, or even if it's gonna be in the game later, but it was really fun and one of the good parts of the demo. It wasn't the only transformation platform in the game, but I did find it odd that the game wasn't really encouraging me to get on the platform. In fact, the stupid bunny creature kept yelling at me to go the opposite direction, so if it wasn't for my own curiosity, I wouldn't have even jumped on the platform. It's so weird. This seems like a waste of animation and time and money. Still fun though, I can't complain. Probably the best part of the demo. The third dungeon is the town area, and it's probably the biggest dungeon. I was kind of surprised by that, and a little impressed for a demo. It's not open world or anything, but there's a lot of items and areas you can miss. There's a lot more enemies in this dungeon, and it seems like they keep coming no matter what, so a pretty good place to practice fighting. There's also another transform platform in this dungeon where you turn into this weird giraffe deer creature. I don't know. It's the only other transformation that you can use combat in, but it was a lot clunkier than me. All I could do was swing wildly at enemies, and it didn't even feel like I was hitting them at all, so I just transformed back into the kid form. Again, interesting idea, just not implemented very well. The fourth dungeon is probably the smallest one, but the most action-packed. It's outside a big palace and basically consists of a parking lot.
No!
Oh yeah, can we see that again? Yeah, that's it. Quite suddenly, you play as your adult self. Yeah, you're the real Noctis now, and I assume you have all the abilities that you're going to have in the real game. Which is great. I mean, finally, something that actually pertains to the full game and lets you actually play as a character from it. Even the magic in this portion of the game works a lot better. Like, I used it, and I think it just locked on easier, and it was a lot more fun. Unfortunately, this part only lasts about 30 seconds, depending on how quick you defeat the enemy. And that's a really big shame, because it was fun, and I don't really understand why they made it so short. I guess just to give you a little taste. But yeah, you transform back into the kid, and then the game sort of ends around there. Like, you get to a limo, and it's about over. From what I can tell, you can continue to play the demo and unlock other things that you couldn't at the beginning, but there just didn't seem to be enough for me to be interested in, and the items were pretty useless anyway, so yeah. So there you have it, Final Fantasy 15 demo. I don't know. To me, it just didn't even feel like Final Fantasy 15. It felt like Square Enix was just showing off their game engine and showing you how pretty everything is going to look. But, I mean, that's all well and good, but, I mean, there's so many features in this demo that you know are only going to be in the demo, and I just felt like it was a waste. Come to think of it, we already know that Final Fantasy games are going to look pretty. It's how it's always been. And with a game that's been in development for 10 years, where the only thing we know for sure from the trailers is that it's going to look really nice, it just makes this demo even more pointless to me. Oh yeah, also, 2 times at the end of the demo, Square Enix tried to get me to pre-order the game. Twice! Oh, click here to pre-order the game. Are you kidding me? Fuck you, Square Enix, I'll buy the game if I want to. God. I know what'll help. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.